40. We're a little bit behind, but I'm going to go ahead and call this open session to order. If everyone intends, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You need to work on your pause.
Real pause.
We need to practice.
No.
All
You
right.
gotta do it right.
We do have a quorum here.
Under God with no pause.
Correct.
Why do you think?
It always throws me off.
If the way Buckley says, that's how you do it. That's how you do it, buddy.
It's an age thing.
Thank you.
I won't interrupt it.
Hey,
Oh, you're fine.
I like applause to
It is
bring
an
them.
age difference.
Anyway,
For drama.
we do have a quorum here. I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
motion.
Motion by Sir Adam, second by Dusty. All in favor?
Aye.
Have any public comments for tonight? We'll scratch that off and move on to the consent agenda items.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay. A motion by Adam to approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
Second by Steve. All in favor?
Amy, I need to abstain.
Okay.
Because on its consent is sub people, right?
Yeah, the sub
Oh,
list would be
I do
in that.
too. I forgot about that. I do too.
Riley.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, well, I guess because she's on there consistently though, because she's not highlighted for approval for this.
So that
one,
brings
right?
us to
She
three.
is.
Right?
Those,
Oh, is she?
everything
I missed
on
that.
there will be approved.
Okay.
We'll need Nita
Yeah,
here.
to vote on that.
Where'd she go? We need your opinion in your vote.
Oh no, we got three. Well, it does take four. doesn't it?
Four. We got with two abstaining.
I'll say yes.
We had a motion to approve the consent agenda items. Steve and Doug have to abstain.
And we could pull the one thing off there.
Because of subs.
Oh.
So
So
We found out that
you don't have a conflict.
I'm gonna do it again. All in favor? There's your four.
I mean, you could be great in that movie Step Brothers.
Ooh, that'd be scary. I want to go.
Approval of the bills
I have a question
for
on
payment.
that before we look at Doug.
Thank
We
you.
had I saw a thing on there for a payment to BSN for girls' basketball uniforms, I believe. And is that for this year's purchase?
For this year's in it.
Okay. And my only question really was, it being in December, is there a reason why it was so late?
Actually, they were ordered.
That's what I'm assuming, but I was just
They
double
were
checking.
ordered early on, and I'm just now getting.
Yeah.
They're just now billing us.
That's what I assumed. So
So do we have them?
Yeah,
Please, no.
yeah,
I mean, are they wearing them?
yeah, they're black. Yeah.
Good.
I don't know that part.
Oh, they're fine. They look great.
So I didn't know if they were wearing them this year or not. I didn't know if we had them in. But anyway, that's what I assumed. So that was the only question.
Well, my question was, I thought, we had that deal where we didn't want to order from certain companies anymore. If you remember that discussion.
Yes. So something we need to talk about.
The payables. I mean, so, and that some of that though too is some people lack of communication on are not privy to that.
I mean, this is done.
Yeah, but I'm just saying we failed to. So
Express that point.
mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Anyway, that's the only question that I had. So there you go, Doug.
Can't believe it.
What do you think
I'm
of that,
so
buddy?
glad.
You didn't think he
I'm
even
the
looked
only
those
person
things, did you?
that has a question on bills.
Mm-hmm.
Call him little protege.
Padawan. There's some in here that knows what that means.
You waiting for me to say my next thing?
I'm waiting for a motion to approve.
I'm got one question.
And I was waiting for the
Glenn
question.
Plumbing. What was that for?
Plumbing.
Like $3,000.
Yeah, email on that, didn't we?
Had a backup on the I-90.
So we're talking about
Sorry,
Flet.
flat. Sorry, yes. Probably the salt.
It is the sump pump. There's a whole description down here at the bottom. You want to read it?
Sure.
Yeah, I asked Carl to put it. It was over my head what he's
Was
talking
it?
about, so I
Did
had
we
him
talk
write
about
it
this
in
at
there.
one time before, Randy?
Yeah,
I think-
they had to put in a bigger sleeve for the sump pump because the sump pump was getting clogged, and they had to put a bigger sump pump in there.
Mhm.
And so they had to jackhammer out some of the floor.
Yeah.
And they went to like a 3-foot sleeve, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was big.
Is this in the 2-story?
No, it's in the elementary.
And I think we talked a little bit
We
about
talked a
this.
little
We
bit
knew it
about
was
it.
happening. Yeah.
It was constantly clogged.
Hmm.
Constantly, and the pump would not chew. It wasn't a big enough pump, and it set. There wasn't enough room in there for it to chew up all the toilet paper and stuff that needed to chew up and get it on out of there.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those. I can't believe that you'd have to have this. You know, you would think this sewage system would take care of all that, but it doesn't.
Want to work? I'm good. Motion to approve the bills.
Motion by Doug, second by Steve to approve bills. All in favor? Motion carries. Excuse me, we can move on to the administration reports, our principals.
One thing I wanted to call attention to, Mary Lovinguth is our Pathways to Reading consultant. And she's been coming once a month, working with all of our new teachers. And her last visit, she had some really, really powerful things to say for our lower elementary teachers and how fast they're developing their ability to deliver the curriculum and stuff like that.
The one thing that I would add to would be if our homecoming goes, when things are coming together pretty good. Got things in place. We're going to put some stuff out social media wise, probably tomorrow or over the weekend for next week's activities.
Who's overseeing it here? The faculty side,
Who's
the homecoming.
Miss Taylor.
Okay. I need to
Yeah.
Visit
The
with
cheer
her
coach,
on-
that's part of their duties, correct?
let's try to get with them so we can collaborate.
Well, yeah, you're on duty that night, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. I think everybody just comes to watch me mess up.
Well, if you read the script, you'll be fine.
Stick to the script.
And this year we are going to give recognition to past queens.
Forget that one time.
No, I didn't forget. We'll talk about that later. But anyway, that's another story for another time.
And as I've heard someone say, always check the spotlight.
Preferably before Friday.
Have a backup.
And I may be bending some of you guys' ears to get a little help with that. Tracking down some of those past queens.
Okay.
Where they are, so.
Sure.
Not necessarily tonight, but we may get a phone call from them.
Well,
You're up, my friend.
I just made a little bullet list here to kind of add. Local taxes have been coming in, so see that little bit of revenue boost there. Civil rights survey is complete. I've got it submitted.
That's fun stuff, isn't it?
It took me, I just talked
That's
with Amy.
hours.
Well, since I've been back, since we come back from Christmas break, I probably got about 6 days in that.
I know. It takes forever.
And,
Remember.
but it's done and it's complete. And I'm happy.
I get it. I understand. I would be happy too.
Buses have arrived. They're licensed. They're ready for service. Tier monitoring's complete. The McKinney-Vento homeless was approved. I just got the letter on that today. So I think we're all good on our tiered monitoring. Christmas party I thought was a good success. I've got some teachers here. Maybe they can agree or disagree. I don't know.
They were all very interested in those envelopes and doing those swaps.
It was a lot of fun.
There was a little bit of ridiculousness going on in that there too.
My bad.
It looked like a fun time.
It was good. Mr. Birdsong was here.
Plenty of pie.
We had plenty of pie. I do have a health insurance meeting next week, so we'll see what the rates are and our assessment should go from 33% to 22%. So we shouldn't see it if depending on how much the insurance goes up, our assessment goes down. Hopefully we won't see a whole lot of movement. Hopefully it'll go down a little bit. Anyway, that's next week, so we'll see our rates and we'll select our open enrollment dates. Just a little bit about today and tomorrow. We did cancel for illness. We was running a little over 80 kids gone Tuesday and Wednesday, and we had several more that should have been home. Staff was in pretty good shape. I think we had eight out Tuesday, 7 out Wednesday. So staff was not too bad. Substitutes was a little difficult because they're sick. But we decided that this would be a good time to try to clean the building, let all the germs die off, try to get them back here Tuesday. Monday's a PD day. No, that we had no home games tonight or tomorrow night. Be back Tuesday for homecoming week. Try to get our kids back in school because we didn't want to hold on too long, but it's kind of one of those.
Well, we're off Monday anyway.
Yeah.
That's a good.
So that kind of give us 5 days to try to get some of this illness under control, if we can get it under control. And but hopefully we could come back Tuesday and have good numbers again and try to get some of this illness out of the way. Couple of things, and well, I guess I'll save this for the next section on the facilities and construction. So I'll quit there on my report.
Kelly and
Yeah, I was going to talk about that in the
okay.
I have
facilities and construction.
one thing for you all, and I've been asked this by a few different people now, and it's in regards to communication from the school to our patrons, our parents, and whatnot. It seems like we used to have the text messages, we used to have some phone calls and stuff going on, and anymore it's just on the Facebook page, and there's really no other communication that's going out there, and unless you
I've
have
had the same issue, just
Yeah.
with the cancellation days. Can we get back to?
We send a text message. The parents aren't getting it. Jake and I worked on it all day today.
Okay, so there's
Looks
an
like
attempt
it's
to
in the
be,
parent settings in Infinite Campus. So I sent out a instruction
because
to some
there
parents.
was a time that I was getting text messages, and then it was just a very brief moment, and then
We're
it
still
happened to
still
be.
paying for school messenger, so there's no reason why we're not using it.
So
If we need to in the meantime.
Is the
We're paying for
phone
school
calls?
messages, right?
It's paid for the year. Yes.
Yeah. So
I
let's-
personally like the phone calls. I mean,
well, my thing is, and this has been, I guess, the complaint to me is there's a lot of people who aren't hounds on the Facebook, and if they're not looking at that, then they're not knowing, and and so I'm sorry.
We send it on Dojo as well.
Okay,
That helps.
but does
That
that
helps.
affect the high school side?
No, it's gonna be
So that's where my conversations have been, just with that part. So
Mr. Berton, like this last one, I've been getting all the ones before it, but whatever the snafu was,
Yeah.
I didn't get the last one either.
So I didn't, and I know we're going to have glitches. We're going to have speed bumps in our system, and somehow this one thing's going to get checked, and it's going to affect everybody. I know how that works too. So, but I knew that you were aware of it, but I just wanted to. I was asked to talk about it, so I'm doing that. One of the other things that I think we've discussed before, though, is once we get our system up and going, is there going to be a way for us to break down and I don't want to use just sports, but like basketball, baseball, FFA groups, where we can have whoever's in charge of that send out and contact with parents, players, and all
That's
that.
part of the system, yes.
Just within that. So, because I know I've been asked about that also. Because I think we made that promise publicly whenever we were talking about this new system and things like that. So parents are wanting to know where that's at. So just so you know, it's there's conversations about where those things are and stuff like that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. We're good with that. We can move on to the next item, which is the facilities and construction bond update.
Just a couple of things here. We did close on the Callahan property. It is ours. Carl locked up the house, put up a no trespassing sign.
Looks like the vehicles maybe were still.
They are.
So do we own those cars now?
No, he come in. He said he was working on it.
He's got about 3 days to work on it, and they're going to become ours. We're going to get rid of them.
And we looked at the trees that was out there because we know the tree needs to come down.
Sycamore needs to come down.
The sycamore, yes, and we got Carl got one bid on that. I know they can trim the sycamore for $300. It's going to be about $2,500 to take the sycamore down though, because they've got to take the lines down and all of that stuff. But they can trim it up for $300. One thing I thought we might want to do is get that property surveyed and see exactly where the property lines are, because I'm not sure we own all that sycamore tree. I'm not sure we own all of some of those other trees that's on there that maybe the city owns part of it or something like that. It's exactly where those property lines are. That's just a thought.
It's a good thought.
Mm-hmm.
So we might get started on getting that survey done. It was going to be to remove the trees. Golly, I want to say it's going to be around $3,500 to remove the trees, and that would be trimming the sycamore, I believe.
How many?
Even that huge maple that's there, and that maple is as big as that sycamore.
I know it's huge, but they don't have to take. They wouldn't have to take the lines down.
Is that something we could get?
That.
I know, guys.
I mean, that don't sound too. That don't sound.
It's in my desk. I've got it up there.
Dusty, do you think that is that? I mean, that don't sound too far off. But is that something that maybe we could look at getting some bids on?
What's that?
Huh?
We're talking about the tree.
The trees.
Well,
Trees.
Reason being, back behind Mom and Dad, they had two huge oak trees that were leaning over the house and needed to come down. Had one bid, and it was I don't know, $1,800, right at $2,000. Person that came did it, licensed, insured, $750. I mean, it's just the same job, same work. I don't know. Not trying to nickel and dime it, but
I think it was about $3,500, and I think that was removing the sycamore, and it was about $2,500 just to remove that sycamore. But the rest of them was like $300 or $50 per tree.
Well, they'll have to do some road work when that sycamore comes out, because I mean, you see how it's buckled the sidewalk, and it's
unless they just grind it.
Well, yeah, but they won't be able to grind that stump until they get rid of some concrete.
So
I'd like to see maybe some bids on it.
maybe if we could, we'll go ahead and try to get a survey if that's all right.
Yeah.
And
Do you mind if I try and help us out on that?
I don't mind at all.
Okay.
On the
Make a
survey or the
contact
trees or
on the
both?
survey.
Yes, if you, that'd be just fine.
Yeah.
And then, once we get the survey done, I think if we can get that done first and see exactly how those trees are lined up, because they may not even be our trees.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
I'll look into that. I'll try and make some contact tomorrow.
Okay.
So
that's what I had on the facilities.
Okay.
Those two things.
The actual building itself, where we
That's just whatever you guys want to do with it. It's pretty rough shape.
no. Not
the new
house.
construction.
I'm
new
sorry,
building.
the new building. I haven't received any.
The last I talked with Matt, we're still kind of in a hold on the doors. We're hoping within a couple of weeks that they'll be in. And then there was a piece with the electrical that York was waiting on. They have acquired that piece and are ready to move on it. But some of that electrical, you can't really do anything on the inside because we don't have a way for it to be secure.
What about the existing building? Are we doing anything in that
part I
while
don't
the
know.
time? What?
I don't know an update on that.
If not, I mean, can we?
Well, right now it's all open.
The last I knew after our last board meeting, Ms. Strain and Matt were discussing the interior layout and if there were changes from the original plan. And I don't know what happened from that part.
I'd just be curious on that, where we're at on that. I mean, if we're waiting on parts for a garage door, that's fine. But is there maybe something we can do in the existing part while we're?
That part I don't know.
It's all open right now because there's
Have we taken bids yet to get that under construction?
not that I know of. Matt was kind of overseeing that.
Okay. Maybe we can get some of those bids going and get going on that older.
The renovation part of it.
On the renovation.
Mhm.
Carl had brought up, and if the garage doors was going to be several weeks out, he had brought up, could we maybe put in something temporary on the inside up against the garage door openings, like build a temporary wall that could be taken down and have a couple of doors that you could open up.
So we could proceed with some of the.
So we could proceed with some of the interior stuff.
Surely those doors are almost here. They've been sitting there.
The last
Now,
time we should only be a
it's-
week or
it's
two out now,
ridiculous.
as long as everything's on track.
And we've been waiting 6 months, so surely that's about time for them to be done.
Well, I
Our
was
garage
just-
doors are
Yeah.
way behind, I know.
Yeah. So
That's good.
Very good. Move on to the action items themselves, which is approve the ballot language for the April 2022 elections.
we just need an official approval for that ballot.
And it's changed since you all looked at it. Mr. Shushank, I forgot a C in his name, and we also moved a placement of Dusty into where we would like it. So it's changed just slightly from when I originally put it in there.
I've been calling his kids' names for like 5 years, and I think I say it different every time. Sue or Shoe. I never can remember. What is it,
I forgot
Dusty?
C. That's pretty good.
Shoe.
Shoe shanky.
Shoe shake.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Motion by Adam to approve the ballot language.
Second.
Second by Nita. All in favor?
Steve said yes too.
Yeah.
I seen the wrinkle on top of his head.
That motion carries. Now we can talk about the introduction of proposed 2022-2023 calendars in teacher leadership.
Mr. Benson, you have the floor.
Sorry, I don't know that you were the man.
I'll start off. Dr. Caffey put together several different calendars, and the staff reviewed them. The leadership team reviewed them first, and then they reviewed them with their PLC teams. And so, what the two calendars that we have are taking into consideration input from all the PLC teams on what they'd like to see. So,
Well, I can tell you from 10 years ago, I proposed this very same thing, the 4 days. I love it. but the one thing, I mean, I had board members even back then that were, no, we can't do that to the parents because they won't have childcare, things like that. I'm pretty sure, I know there's 3 intelligent people sitting there. So.
Wow.
That's what I figured that. I had to get my dig at him. But I really think that I really believe you guys, I'm sure, have done your research and have got all your ducks in a row. I'm hoping that that's something that you've considered. The one thing that I would oppose I would vote no for is if our classified staff gets cut pay, I won't vote for it. And I say that because we've got some great people. One of the things that, you look at, we're going to save money from electricity to bus routes, wear and tear on buses. I mean, there's a whole list of things, the pros and the cons. But if it's going to affect their pay, which I looked at it and thought with a longer time, you're going to make up hours. I hope I'm right here.
You're right.
That, they're not going to lose that time. And if they were to lose some of that time, I feel like could have the choice of coming in on PD days and working, or they could take a day if they wanted to. But
They would have to work a few PD days, which they have to work a few PD days now.
well, I like it because, like I said, I did all this research back then, and it gives just the fact that teachers having the ability to do doctor's appointments with their kids themselves, and there's so many positive things about it. The only thing is you'll have those that are going to question about instruction. My research 10 years ago showed that there was no change and even improvement in test scores for those kids. I think the closest school district around here that first started that was Bell, and their attendance has improved, their scores have improved.
Have you checked that recently?
Whose scores are going to be good now after?
No, but I'm just.
No,
saying.
I hadn't checked it recently. I'm hoping that these guys, after I saw that they were going to come to the board about this, I'm sure, like I said, with 3 of them intelligent, I know that they've got that figured out. So now, tell me, you got it figured out?
So, so kind of what we understood our role was is mostly to explain to you what the teacher's perception of this is, right? And just kind of give you guys some heads up on where teachers sit with the calendars and stuff. But in doing so, we've also done some research, we've done some of that stuff, and we've just kind of taken ourselves to, familiarize yourself with stuff before making these decisions too. So I do have some of that stuff that interests you as well, but, I guess mostly what I understood when we were coming here to do today was to talk mostly about how we had 7 PLC teams, 7 PLC teams who voted on these proposals. And there was a couple of the calendars that we had, 3 calendars, if I remember correctly, that we voted on. And all 7 PLC teams voted for the 4-day calendar. So of the 7, everyone voted for it. And I'm not going to say there was not a couple of naysayers, but for the most part, it was overwhelmingly, even within those teams, that all the teachers really felt this will be a positive thing for our district. So that's kind of, you definitely have teacher support big time in there. Like you said, there was some concerns, and one concerns that we do have were for some support staff. We do have some concerns for this like a 3K group came up with and said that they want to know if we could show data that learning was not affected. That make sure that we're not harming students' learning environments. And, so there are some things like that. We talked about getting students back into routines after long breaks and things, stuff like this. So there are some concerns that we had, but there's also lots of positive stuff with it. We talked about increasing attendance. The theory is that with attendance that if we have a day off on Monday, that gives everybody a day to schedule doctor's appointments, and it gives people a day to do dentist appointments and haircuts and, whatever you might have, therapy sessions or whatever. And so that would increase attendance because it's kind of everybody's day to go do that stuff, go to the bank and do that kind of stuff. So both teachers and students are more likely to be at school because they can use that day for those things. Another one was overhead cost savings. I know you've done some research on that, and the overhead cost savings is kind of minimal. It's not as what you would think that it would be. And what we came out to be is about less than 5% savings. Now, I don't know what that costs. I have no clue what cost savings are here, but if that comes out to be a few $1,000s a month, even that could potentially be another staff member we could hire based just on that cost. Even though it's a minimal savings, that could be another staff member. Now, again, I don't know if it's that much. It may not be that much. It may just be a couple $100. I don't know. I just know it's up to about 5% is what from our research that we did. Let's see what else.
5% of what?
About 5% of your overhead costs.
Overhead costs?
Yeah. So you're saving about 5% of whatever they currently are. That actually, because you still have to heat and cool it, so you're not saving what you would think. You can't get away from that. So
We're going to save 1 day of bus fuel.
yeah, 1 day of bus fuel.
That's going to be pretty hot.
A little. Yeah. How many buses do we run?
Running 6 routes.
6, I think.
Go ahead. Thought.
Another thing too is, research shows that, one thing we looked, I think we all kind of thought maybe that if you get happy students, happy staff and all that we might see some increase in some instructional practices as well, or, increase in student achievement, I should say, as well. And that turns out that when you look at research, it's really not much of an impact either way. And it could also be because, we're not really adding or taking away any hours, working the same amount of hours. It's talking really mostly about restructuring the days and the hours that we have. So maybe that's why, but it doesn't show one way or another from anything that I could find from my research. And I looked at some different meta studies and stuff, and I looked at some studies and across, like this study here is across 18 districts that I'm looking at right now, in Idaho, New Mexico, and Oklahoma, and just kind of wasn't anything overwhelming one way or another on the academic impact. And a couple more points here. I think these two are probably pretty important, but student, staff, and parents support it overwhelmingly. In this study that I just referred to with 18 districts, the students had 85% approval rating. Of course they do, right? And then the parents even were also at 69% approval rating for this study. So, I mean, it's good that, obviously our staff is supporting it. I think we'll get students and parents that will like it too, for what that's worth. I think that's something. And the last thing is, and there's no really way, I tried to find some research on this, and I couldn't find anything to back this up one way or another. But it's kind of hard to quantify this, but I really do think that it's possible that it'll aid in retaining and recruiting new teachers. I think that's going to be a big selling point. I don't think that we can compete with some of the surrounding area districts when it comes to pay. When it comes to pay, so I think we have to get creative to keep good people around. We've got some great new hires this year, and I think that really a good way to keep these guys around would be to offer something that Rolla can't, that St. James can't, that some other districts can't, and that's. I think this is at least one possibility to do that with. So. And she's Miss Buckington here is with us. Actually, been part of a 4-day.
I've been real chatty with them.
You have been.
I've been real chatty with you guys.
Oh, with us, yes, yeah. And
So-
you can answer.
Miss
those
Buckington
questions.
has been at Bell, right?
Yes,
They were there a 4-day.
they're 4-day.
They're a 4-day school and have been for a long time.
So when they were working on this, Mr. Clark or Mr. Shaw, I can't remember, said, come in and just talk to this committee about your experiences with 4-day. And so once they started asking questions about how it went, then all kind of stuff came out that I hadn't even really been thinking about for a long time. But do you guys have any questions about the day-to-day of what a 4-day schedule looks like for teachers, kids, and parents?
So a year and a half ago, we went to an 8-hour period. So we extended our day a little bit longer.
By about 20 minutes, I think.
So I assume, or I see by the calendars in front of me, that we're going to go from almost 8 o'clock till almost 4 o'clock.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
3:58, I believe, is cut off.
Which is fine. I mean, it's an 8-hour day. It's what most 4-period or 4-day schools go to is an 8-hour day.
Yeah, they have these.
So-
You guys want to look at these?
We have them.
We have them. Thank you, though.
So that makes sense, yes. And as far as support staff goes, the count that we have currently now is what, 152, 150,
157.
156 or 7 days, something like that.
157.
And your 4-day week would be 148. So, we're not talking just a few days difference there that we would have to work out how we want to make that look.
Well, and your aides right now are 7.5 hours
Okay.
per day, so they would go to 8. When you figure that up,
Yeah.
you're
talking no difference to speak of. So for that part, I understand completely. I have some logistic questions and some logistic concerns, but they're just mine. They don't mean nothing.
Well,
Other
they
than,
might, what are?
well, but I mean, for example, I see that we're taking off the whole week of Thanksgiving. Okay, that don't need to happen. We can go to school on Monday here or a Monday there if we need to. We've got to get more days in the first semester than what they're
So
showing.
can I talk to you about
Yeah,
that for a
sure.
second? When I was at Ballot, they were, like, naturally, I'd say, well, why can't we go on Monday? Because it was a day and we had to make up snow days. They weren't built in. And I said, why don't we just go on a Monday? And they, because when we went to the 4-day week, the parents expected a 4-day week and they wanted it all the time. They didn't want their schedule disrupted. We're on a 4-day week. We don't go back in. And so I think that would vary from community to community, like the contract that you actually have with parents about how this is going to look.
Sure.
Part of that too is that, like, once you go to a 4-day week, you have kids that are out in the workforce now, and like they have jobs and commitments, and when you take their day off, then
But if
that's
that's out
screws
there,
with everybody.
you wouldn't know which days you're working.
Right.
You'd know which Mondays you're working a year in advance, so that's not an issue necessarily. I do understand the parents' point of view, and
Right.
and my wife's a superintendent right now, and they are on a 4-day week, and they have been for the last 2 years, and so that's worked really well. Their first year they did it, the first calendar they put out, they worked a few more Mondays than I think what the parents necessarily wanted them to do, so they've scaled that back, or they only did 2, but I'm really concerned about first semester and the days for first semester. Plus, I see that we're getting out December 16th. Holy cow. December 6th. Before long, we're not going to go in December at all.
That's about when
Well, but that's, whenever Christmas starts falling on the weekend, that's when that starts, it
I
seems
know,
like
I'd keep going, but that's just me. I just go to like December 23rd, but anyway.
well, that's because you needed to.
Right, I did need to. I need to go during Thanksgiving. I need to keep working. But anyway, those are logistic, debatable little things. And I'm assuming that you're going to revamp a little bit of this.
Well,
This is a rough draft, but this is a pretty good draft.
I think this is the final draft, because if you look at, you were talking about Thanksgiving week, well, they're going to take that Monday because just like she said, they're expecting it. So then it would be kind of odd to have them come back Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thanksgiving on Thursday when you would let them.
You just would work that Monday, so you'd go Monday and Tuesday. That's what you do on Thanksgiving for that week. You'd work Monday and Tuesday. And you'd get off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday like you normally do. That's my
But I think when you start, don't you need to keep that consistency with every Monday till it becomes a habit?
I showed this to the parent advisory yesterday, and
For the most part, I agree.
the biggest thing that they liked about it was the consistency. And just the fact that when you look at both calendars side by side, it's predictable. Everybody knows what days they're going and what days they're not.
Well, I agree with that, except that you can make them any days you want to make them.
Sure.
I mean, it doesn't matter
It's
on
not
that,
a-
Leo. You can make them whatever. You can go on a Friday if you want to. So, or not go on a Friday. So, I mean, that's all small stuff that can be debated
Go ahead,
later.
Ms. Buffington.
It's something that, like, other than just like being happy to sit on my front porch with my coffee and wave at the Raleigh school bus on Monday. Other than that, the greatest part for me of having that 4-day week that we don't really consider is the consistency of instructional time, because that Monday or Friday, whatever it is you choose, becomes the day for activities. And you don't have to pull kids out for FHA or beta or FFA. Teachers who sponsor those organizations that we're always grabbing kids here and there and doing this and that, we get a stipend. And so, like, that's covered. That's part of our pay to do those things. And those things were done on days off.
Okay,
So-
with that being said, how did those students get here to do that?
They're high school kids. Most of them hitch
What
rides
about-
or come with
My,
other
one of my
kids.
questions is going to be extracurricular things like you mentioned, but junior high sports. how do those kids get here for those practices?
And it's on our list.
I don't know about that.
So
I just have the high school perspective, but
No,
I
I
know
totally understand, but
that like my Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, my kids were in class.
That's a really good point on the stipends, though.
no, I agree.
I appreciate you saying that.
I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
like, okay, and I don't mean this to sound hard, but like, where do we draw the line that we have to take care of every need for everybody? Like,
No, I understand that.
people
Thank you.
make their way. It's like, if you want to do something, like I wanted to be here tonight, and I made sure that I was able to get here. But I'm an adult and I drive and I have a car, but kids are the same way. And I have kids that'll say, "Oh, I can't come to a 7:15 beta meeting," and I go, "How come?" "Well, the bus doesn't run." And I go, "Don't you have any friends?" "You got friends?" "Oh yeah, I got friends." I said, "Hitch a ride."
It's part of our culture now. Everybody has excuses.
If you really want it,
Terrible.
That's a really
you
good
will
point.
do it.
No, I agree.
And
We need to
kids
pick
like
up my buddy.
they say a lot of times, money for this or that. Well, I got money for the soda machine, so
Teresa, were you
save
in
those
band?
dollars.
But anyway, I just know
You don't
that-
remember
that
Nate with
some
six
questions,
talking about
Right.
you know, and
I just
whether-
thought it was really important for me
Yeah.
to have that guarded instructional time, and the teachers honored it. Like every now and then, somebody would say, "I gotta have these kids 8th hour or during advisory," and I go, "Okay."
well,
You know,
that's
we'd all go,
that's
okay.
part of the progress. And
And you know, FFA, they have their convention. Beta has their convention. We can't schedule that. That's not on us.
it is what it is.
But like meetings and like we did a big flower sale at Bell. We didn't take kids out of class to come down and go do that. We did it on Monday. And so I was part of that. We go in on a Monday.
I like
do
that.
the flowers. And,
So what do you need? What do you need from us tonight?
hmm?
What do you need from us tonight?
That's all right. I've had, you know, because I've had a few people ask me some questions, and it's actually made me kind of make some questions. So that's why. And you guys are doing the research more than I have been. I have asked a few people about it that are currently doing this. Some of the people at Bell, and of course, we've got a very good insight with Miss Buffington, and then some of the people that are at Edgar Springs, because I believe they do a 4-day week, I believe.
Well, almost all of Southwest.
But anyway, another one of the other questions would be, and I know it's on your list, but childcare is going to be a question on what we do with that for Mondays. What do we do about feeding our kids?
So I had an idea about that
So,
child
and that-
care
the
and
feeding is a big one.
on those days off, like there's a USDA food program that, like when the kids go the extended day, obviously the kids are eating lunch at 10:30 or 11 o'clock. By 4 o'clock, they're starved to death.
Yes.
And so they use this lunch or snack program, which enabled the cooking staff to be there later because they had to make snacks. And it was like a grab and go snack every day before the kids went. But like that could also happen for a Monday because, I mean, I don't know. I haven't researched that
No,
part
that's
and
okay.
what the USDA thing is for that, but I don't know. We could look into that, but why couldn't there be grab and goes? You know, like we do the backpack program, or do we do that here? I thought we did. Like the backpack program for kids with food.
Yeah, snack packs.
The snack packs, yeah. Like Friday food could go home on Thursday night if that's the day off, or Friday
Well,
food. You know, I don't know.
I you know, like I said, it's been 10 years ago. Now with the free food that we're getting, I don't know if they would cover Mondays for kids. But I remember one school district I talked to they did a child care program, and they actually charged the parents, and it was pretty small. It was like $10 a kid or something like that at the time. And they would charge those parents that money, but the kids come to the school. They brought them to the school. Teachers, that school district, I know Career Ladder's been going a long time, but now like we kind of have that incentive program. The teachers were actually the ones, and they actually got to do really fun learning stuff. I mean, it was like childcare, babysitting, but yet instructional things that they could have fun that they can't do in the daytime. Things that a teacher always wanted to kind of teach but can't because it doesn't.
I'm sure you would have either teachers or support staff that would be willing to do that
And so
for one day.
the money was used from, however, like the kids, that were the parents that paid for that. And I can't, like I said, that's been, but that was an idea of that.
No, and
one
there's,
school
there's been
district.
several districts talked about that because the childcare thing is kind of a big one. And the problem with that is you can't really find a daycare that's going to take a child for one day. You're going to have to pay for the week to hold their spot.
You said that was the problem the first year, and then after the first year, they figured it out. And then
So a lot of, like, when parents and families, I mean, I guess you could have some kind of thing where you invite people in to problem solve that, but like, older siblings take care of younger siblings, in-home child care, grandmas, like people, they just took care of it.
Oh no, I think
I'm sure in most cases that people would find a way. Like most families could come up with something, but there are going to be cases. What's
I'll
that?
clarify something too. That I think
What's
That's
that?
the plan. It should be.
I know. Well, I can tell you this from the work side of it. Whenever there's snow days, I know that one of the parents genuinely will take off from work and be home with their child if they're not old enough to stay by themselves. Our parents can't do that every Monday.
Right. One thing I will say too,
That's a deal.
it's like Fridays. So we have PD days, on Fridays and things, Mondays and things too. So we've already got some of these days. So if you look, I actually went through each month and counted that because that's something I thought about with child care. And I looked at it, I kind of rearranged some of the days and counted the days off that we have sporadically and kind of, and so like for example, if you look at September's calendar, we had a PD day on the 2nd and the 23rd. So those were days that somebody has to come up with and figure out childcare if they're kind of on the spot for one day a week anyway. So really, they only push you with one day that month where somebody's childcare that would be extra based on this new calendar. So if you look at it, count through all the days, and it ended up being a net worth of 10.5 days is what that comes out. Because in May, remember we're going 3 extra days in May too, so that's 3 extra days during the week. So in other words, to your point, it's not. Remember, it sounds like a lot of Mondays, but it's not as many Mondays as you think. Surprise Monday.
I did the same thing.
Because we've already got.
You've already got these days anyway. So it's really 10.5 days that it boils down to, where parents will have to find an additional babysitter for those 10.5 days. So.
And it might be
Because we're off
something
the
that,
Right.
like, clubs and organizations and teachers can brainstorm to try to figure out solutions to that. Like, this is, however we end up, if we end up doing it, however we end up doing it will be unique to us because it'll be what works for our community and not for like what they did at Bell or what they're doing at Eminence or what they're doing at Stoutland. Like things will work out for us the way we are able to work them out. So, just
Well,
we may have to do more.
I asked some teachers that
That's
left
okay.
went to Waynesville, and 3 of them went to St. James. And I asked them, I said, if we had 4 days a week, would you have stayed? And they said, absolutely. But, because the thought of, they were willing to give up some of I think if they really thought about it, they probably wouldn't have given up some of the money, but they were willing that question at that time, though, they thought, man, because the thought of, I screwed up by trying to sell the idea, getting the idea from my teachers. And sometimes when you tell them, just like kids, it's happening. And no, it was. So they were like all excited about something that. And so, whenever you ask, a lot of people, like Tyler said, man, that's a big one to get people to stay. That's a huge incentive when you can't offer more money.
Now, I want you guys to know, by me asking questions, doesn't mean I'm not interested in that. I don't.
Oh no, you need
But
to
I
know.
like to know the answer.
Well, and two, I think we all kind of vary on our own personal opinions. Like some of us are like, yeah, let's do it. Some of us are like, I'm on the fence. I'm
I'm
not
like, yeah, let's do it.
We all vary too. It's just
It was really hard for me to make the move to come here after being 4 day because I thought I would retire from Bell. And because you had such a great administrative team is what lured me, and I'm not that's for real. But I would love to see the 4 day week here because it is the greatest teacher satisfaction to especially now with COVID and everything that's going on. It just seems like that we don't have the recharge time that we need to be fresh in the classroom anymore. And I don't think it's just me with my age. I hear it from younger teachers too. And I hear it from teachers in Rolla that, oh my gosh, we're just going crazy. We're so busy and we're trying to do so much with what we have and with the illness, and that's going to go away someday maybe. But it really adds to your satisfaction, your work satisfaction. It's like the greatest thing that you could ask for as a teacher. And at first, it's a little bit hard to get used to because you are here longer. But you know, most people work 9 to 5 anyway, and you do get used to that, and the kids get used to that, and then pretty soon, like you're working, and then you go, okay, because I'm going to be home Friday. So, I mean, that is a really great plus to it as far as I can see it. Like the teacher satisfaction is super way up there, and the kids come to love it too.
Did you said that you were older, so.
Right. Now you can say anything you want about that. I'm okay.
Well, did you in your meetings, I was just curious because we have some that have older and have been and sometimes when we get,
More experience.
thank you.
More experience.
When they're more experienced, I guess.
A lot of people don't get
Did you have, because some people, they're really reluctant to change. And really personally, I've always felt like in education, you got to be ready to adapt to that.
I think so.
Have you had some of our, and I don't want you to mention any names, but some of the older generation of teachers that have got 20 plus years thinking, I don't want to do this because they're used to or has it been pretty?
So six people in my group, and we had one that was kind of more reluctant and not really particularly loving the idea, and the other 5 were all that I don't have. Like, what was your experience with your guys' experience? Everybody on the same board.
We were good.
Were they an older teacher or were they?
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the thing. I mean, it is going to be tough for, but season.
No.
Season.
Use the word season.
Well, you look like salt and pepper with your
You
hair, so
can
it's
say
season.
well, that's a
Season.
More
You
experience.
got it. I don't know. That was just something that I
I have a question.
So
Why did you choose Monday instead of Friday?
I love Monday.
Did we choose Monday?
There's already a ton of holidays that happen on Mondays. There's already natural days off on Mondays that make up a
Were you
good
on the
portion of those.
That and sports. I believe there's some Friday games.
I can tell you
right,
about
sports. Friday games.
You know what?
Why?
Sports, I believe, was the other reason.
He said-
I think the Friday games.
The
Yeah, they
Friday
didn't have any games scheduled, so I think it would work there extra.
He said it'll be fun. Trouble with it.
Not even
He
more.
said Fridays.
More
Yeah.
apt to get it on a Monday than on a
Mondays,
Friday.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
because the American
Sometimes
mentality.
kids and people just don't want to go to school on Monday. So
Okay.
get that day off. And we'll
He said
My 2 things, if we can work it out for our support staff, I don't want anybody to take home less than what they're taking now. And we can make sure that the kids that need it are being fed.
My other concern is just educational side, because I've heard from some teachers that do the 4-day week that think their kids aren't getting the education as the same as the 5-day week.
You're gonna have.
I have heard that.
You're gonna have.
I think they
And this is from what you would call seasoned
What'd you say,
Sure.
Crystal?
teachers.
That's true.
So
I can't hear Crystal, guys.
that's
They
just
said,
a handful now. That's just a handful.
no, but it's not research. I think that they said that research academically doesn't really matter. It's a 50-50 draw.
I think
See, that's where I'd like to
I think
see.
it's more of a
Do
personal.
we have to vote on this tonight?
No.
No,
So that's where, if you wouldn't mind, I would like because just recently, several schools in Southwest Missouri have gone to this. I would like, if you could just ask them how it,
Call Dina.
but you know,
She'll
honestly,
give you details.
just because it was on KY3, they had a ton of them in that area that went to this 4-day. And they're new at it, so you could kind of find out. And right now, you can't compare test
Oh, no,
scores.
there's
no way you
very-
could beat with
no.
this COVID and everything. You're not gonna,
and there's I can tell you right now in
That's
Missouri
not
there
the
are a great number of schools
Let me ask-
considering this very topic.
my niece
I mean,
works
it's
at
a tremendous amount.
Let me ask you guys this. Do you know of any schools that have went from a 5-day to a 4-day and said, this isn't working, let's go back to a 5-day? Are there any schools? That would be a good sign that it's not working, it is working.
But I see.
You don't know of any, or there isn't any?
Then I'll get back to you.
I
Okay.
think everybody might quit.
Well-
Just be like, no, we're not doing that. But we can check on that.
Well, that's a legitimate question.
See you on Tuesday. I don't know what you're doing on Monday, but I ain't coming. Hope we got plenty of subs, right?
Information of the ones that I have seen, none of them have went back. That doesn't mean that there are any, or that there's not any out there that did go back, but none that I know of.
Okay.
Well, that first year is going to be just like anything. You can't just judge it off 1 year. I mean,
No, it's not. It's
You-
more. It's
that's-
more than a 1 year commitment.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to have those seasoned schools that have been doing it for a while.
And that's one thing
That's
too
one
that
thing here, y'all are start calling me season.
I am not calling you
that. I
that.
watched these 4 meetings. and you-
I'm telling you, I am not calling you that.
Does your wife teach at a 4-day district? Is that, or she's
She's
an
a-
administrator
She's a superintendent
at a 4-day
at a
district?
4-day district.
But like Mr. Guthrie was saying about that first year being tough, the schools that I talked to said, get through the first quarter. That first quarter will be hard, they say, because it's a longer day, longer for teachers, longer for kids, you know.
Oh, you
Takes a
have to
little
take a
bit to get accustomed to it.
Yep.
They said by second semester though, it's,
It
you know,
goes real long.
It's starting to click.
And by the second year, you don't even think about it.
Well, it'll be what's natural then.
Well,
It doesn't
and-
take long to be accustomed.
you know, you didn't mention also the
Change your habit
discipline.
only takes 2 weeks.
That's one less day that you have to worry about a possible discipline. I know that sounds silly, but
No, it's true.
there's, you know, that aspect as well. So
And see, if I'm a parent, well, I am a parent, yeah.
Uh,
If I have my kids, if I have my kids
Are
for
you
3
sure?
days, I'm ready to send them back that 4th day. Like, go to school. Go to school. All 3 on the bus line.
Or I'll sick you. Puke on the bus.
and the junior high, thing that you're talking about, the schools I talked to, they all do it a little bit different. I've talked to some of them that said, we just don't practice on Mondays or Friday, on the day off, you know. We just take that day off. Junior high kids stay home. Others said, we've never had an issue. We practice at, 2 o'clock and they all show up, whatever time it was.
Yeah.
And some of them just do it at the normal time and they just come in, 5 o'clock or whatever.
when it comes to sports,
Oh, I know.
they'll get there if they want to play.
That they're interested in.
Right. Whatever they're interested in.
Right.
They'll find a way to get there.
And they're not gonna come even on the, if you're 5-day, if
Right.
they're not that interested, there's an excuse.
It's all about interest.
It is.
And that drives a lot of desire. So there you go. Just again, my personal opinion of, it's okay to work a Monday or 2 here to make your days work a little bit different. That's just my opinion. Doesn't mean it has to be that way. But I'm assuming this is still a work in progress a little bit.
But what kind
So-
of work do you still want from the committee before you, seriously consider it? Like, I can tell you're
I think we're seriously considering it now.
Yeah, I mean, like, before you go, okay, we're ready to do this. So like what kind of more research do you want? I know you said, like, did any schools go back to 5 days?
One of my questions would be,
Like
other
food.
than I guess I would want to know how many parents in our district have you actually questioned about this? Is it like 15, or is it a pretty good number of parents? And then do we want to do? If not, do we want to do a district survey to see what response we would get on what they would think? And if there are issues, would those issues be childcare,
Right.
educational issues? List the things that we've talked about, food, and have those, what would be one of your biggest concerns if we did this? And have them kind of, do you have any concerns or not?
So I wonder if, like, if we were gonna talk to parents, like, just send a cold questionnaire, like a lot of, and there would be a lot of parents who would be able to just reason out a lot of that themselves, but there would be a lot of parents who really don't know.
Do they need daycare? Are they going to need
Yeah,
daycare?
that's-
And
that
so,
would be-
like, would we need to have, like, some informational things to them first to say, we're thinking about this and here are some things that could happen and we need your input, instead of just saying, would you have childcare? Because if you ask me that and I'm a parent of a 4th grader, I'm gonna go, no. Until I think about
Well,
it
one
a
of those
little bit and
survey
have
questions
information.
would be, if the school were to provide an option of childcare, do you think you would take that?
Right, and
That
that's
would-
what
that
I'm
would
saying,
be-
we need to figure out ways to,
Mhm.
like, not just hold
Oh, no.
questions, but like give them some information to say,
I think
well,
you
yeah,
got
I'm
enough smarts
interested
in
in
there to
that,
put
or
that
no,
all
I'm
together
not
and make it
interested in that.
presentable.
What do you think?
Is there, I don't know if there's any way to find this out or not.
That guy right
But-
there is with his arm crossed.
Childcare, for the ones that it is an issue with, I would also think it'd be fair to say that some parents might have a hard time, even if you had a deal worked out, $10, if it was still $10 per day per child. Well, to some families that have multiple children, maybe that's going to be a stretch. Is there assistance out there, or is there?
I don't know. That's some of my.
That's it. Like Mocha with electric bills and stuff like. I mean, are there funds out there, the free and reduced lunches? There's
Because part of my concern is we already have a pretty much strapped community area anyway, and I don't want us to do something to throw a bigger hardship on them than what is already there.
Well, that's making it sound like every family is going to need child care. That's not going to be the case. Like you said, you're going to have older siblings. You're going to have retired, maybe grandparents.
You said you counted up the days, though, basically. We're talking about 11 days.
Yeah.
For the whole year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And most people can make allowances.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
11 days. But a good point. I'm not dismissing the point. I'm just saying we're talking about 11 days.
Yeah.
Right.
First, you think like,
in comparison to what we're doing now.
Really start thinking and counting. Like, well, actually, it's only.
They're doing it now. Yes, they've got that figured out for
Yeah.
now, and I get that.
Snow days anyway.
But see there, but
Here
that's
we are.
part of your presentation is when our current calendar.
I think we could make
from a current calendar to a Monday calendar. There's only 10 extra days
Thank you. That's what I was thinking.
that you would have to find childcare. Would that be an issue? Something like
And
that.
that's the kind of stuff I was talking about. Like, if you just
Right.
put it out there, do you need childcare? Everybody goes, "Whoa, I need childcare." But if you go,
Well, that's
can
gonna-
you manage
you
7
know-
extra days of childcare?
That's going to be the
Okay,
biggest
that-
concern.
Yeah.
It has to be the biggest
Yeah,
concern.
and then food.
But if you limit it down to,
um,
you're talking about 11 days for the whole school year,
yeah,
then what we're doing right now, they're going to go, oh, I do that.
yeah, but that's
You
part
know,
of the
and-
information sharing that.
When could you guys come back? I mean, we're close here. When could you come back and talk to us and go over what?
Can you come back in
Next
February?
Work meeting, yes, work meeting.
I'm just giving all them this to do because, like, I'm not really part of their committee. Can you do this?
I think
You're just here. You're doing great. You're doing great.
I think you're in.
Mr.
Yeah,
Vincent,
maybe
keep
have
talking. Keep talking. You're doing
He's
great.
like, keep writing those notes down.
Can you come back
Here
in
I'm
February?
giving all these notes. I'm thinking, I'm just paying these all.
Okay, great. And
There's
if
some
we
people
have,
need to-
Mrs. Buffington, can you come back?
if we have questions or if we have comments, we'll give them to Mr. Shaw or Mr.
Okay.
Clark. Then they can bring it to you.
But my biggest question is, have we done a pretty good survey of our community to see if it's receivable to them?
That'll probably be good for.
Okay, because I want us to get more than 1%. You know what I'm saying? That now I really think that you're going to find a good majority are going to say it really doesn't matter. So, and
I
that's
think
all the
the
research
ones
I've
that
done of communities, it's been found that actually over 50% are going to say not a big deal.
I think you'll have a lot of people that might be skeptical, whether it be set in their ways, old fashioned, old school. I'm kind of that way, but we've talked about this for a couple of years, and at first it wasn't very appealing just because of that's not how we've always done things. It's not broke, don't fix it, right? But the more I listen to this, I mean, it makes sense, and to hear it from your perspective as teachers, I'm looking at it from the other side of the fence, and I mean, I could be talked into that pretty
Complacency will kill you.
I can tell you right now, my boy's going to say a 3-day weekend every weekend. I got another day to hunt and fish. And he's going to be all over it.
So, but great job. Appreciate you guys, the time and research you put into it. We'd love to have you back February.
No, he's going to be here for beta and FFA and robotics. He's not going to have that.
Well, something sounds so community survey and daycare is something you're probably to ask or figure out and think about. And
Yeah, of course. And
Well, just
that's
ask
stuff
those,
you
you could ask those schools what they do about daycare. What do they do
Yeah,
about food? What
and
do
you're
they-
going to find, if you have 15 schools, you're going to have
Because
15.
because they're Missouri schools. You know, there are schools that they may know about the USDA stuff, or they may have, instead of, I mean, I'm not knocking you, don't get that wrong, Tyler, but I'm just saying Missouri schools, we may find out that there's stuff that grants or something that are happening actually in Missouri for that kind of stuff. So
Good, thank you.
I appreciate
the
it.
information.
I appreciate you guys
Thanks for
doing
giving
it
us.
because like I said, I support it with the exception of as long as it's not hurting people.
Yeah.
I just don't want to hurt people. So
Well, I was even wondering, we can talk about it later. You guys wanna go home somewhere?
Oh, no, you're fine. If you want to throw it out, we'll talk about it.
Like, when, with support staff, could we not
You're
have
lucky
like a people early childhood program for that 1 day a week?
I wouldn't like to hurt you.
With support staff that felt like that they were
Well, and I think
interested in.
part of between now and next month, you're going to give us the answer to that.
That's why I said.
Thank
I
you.
just really
Thank
think
you,
that's-
guys.
I'm just like, where's the meeting is? I'm just here.
Right stuff.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your week. End. Oh, that's good. Guys, that's it. Wow. So all we need to do now is set the February meeting. If it's going to be different than
What,
this,
before we go on to that, since we're still on the calendar,
always one.
I'd like for you to tell me what you think about a 4-day week.
For me,
Yes.
I'm not opposed to the 4-day week at all, as long as I agree with Steve that we can take care of our non-certified people and keep their, your bus drivers are the ones that are gonna, you're not gonna pick up a route for them to drive on a Monday just to make up the hours.
Yeah.
So, I mean, their route isn't gonna change any, so.
Now, and the reason I pointed out Doug, guys, is no offense to anybody else, but he has a unique insight to how this
So-
affects the school.
There's some concern to me there about how we take care of that. The rest, we can probably manage.
Do you
Yeah.
feel that it's been a hindrance to the educational process for the kids? That
No,
they're not learning as they would have if they've been there 5
no,
days.
I don't see that as a concern at all. I'm not concerned about that part in the least. Because, the extended day is 5 more minutes to each class. I mean,
Yeah, that's not the
10
big difference, but
10 more minutes
having
each
that
class.
1 day off
big deal.
consistently, and you probably have thought about this and looked into it too, Steve, but
But that
does
day,
that one extra day off slow them down on coming back on Tuesday and getting back in?
Well, like I told Doug, my brother used to own a car dealership, and he told me, don't ever buy a car that was manufactured on a Monday.
Remember, you told us that in health class one.
And yeah, that's how because of the mentality of the working American. And he said, if by chance you can see one on Friday, I'd probably say I would, but if on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and that really is the mentality, because we were like, oh God.
But does Tuesday
and that's the same
become
way
the
with
Monday?
kids. Kids come in very lethargic sometimes on Mondays, and they're
Because that's my wonder.
not to what I see.
So does Tuesday become the Monday? Then we only have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of learning.
Not to what I see.
I would think that
I'm very supportive of the idea of a 4-day week if we can make it work for the logistics of all that. It's a real pain.
Yeah.
And he's right about how much money you're gonna save for the overall plan. You're not gonna save any money for the overall plan.
I don't even think savings of money should be on our
So
list.
it's not a big deal for that. What you're gaining here is kids coming to school every day, teachers coming to school every day, and enjoying their 4-day week. Because that's what they're gonna get every day. So
Well-
that's a good thing.
and like the savings thing, you're right. You may not get that much, but just even looking at our bills, and you look at the utilities, and you see that, and if you let's say it's $300 less a month. I mean, that's not huge in the big, but in the same
$4,000
time,
a year, roughly.
I can tell you what art supplies it would buy because
But 1 day,
I
one
mean,
day of
I mean,
day of no gravel travel with your
Mhm.
buses. That's big for our buses
it is.
because we travel gravel every day.
Well, Well, I mean,
So-
because the fuel savings is going to be a
Huge.
little bit,
Sorry, it's a
but
big
the
deal.
wear and tear is probably going to be the bigger savings.
That'd be the big savings, yeah. I mean, there's no way around that. Anyway,
The only other thing I'd add then is, I do think that it will really help with teacher recruitment and retention.
I agree with that.
I think that'd be a.
That's a proven fact. That's a proven fact. If you
Yeah.
go and look at all those schools that went to up to a 4 from a 5, and the teachers that stayed because of that one thing alone, is because of that.
We'll have a leg up until Rollins St. James do it.
Yeah.
Which I think will be a while.
Rolla will.
It will be a while.
On the bus drivers, man,
Especially
they could drive on their days off at Rolla every day. I know they could.
I'm not saying they can't.
Every day.
I'm not saying there's not something out there for them to do. I'm just those, we can't forget about those folks.
Oh, yes, no. Yeah.
So
Can you
that's
still
all.
drive for Rolla?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Anyway, that's all I wanted to know.
I'm
They
good
have
on the
some-
17th.
Because we had a special.
Waynesville, I don't know how they figure their routes.
What was our next? The
17.
Good. The other morning, I had to leave at 5:45 in the morning.
Let's make it work.
And drove all the way
Looks good to me.
halfway to Salem,
All right.
Is that it?
and nobody rode.
Just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Adam, second by Doug. All in favor to adjourn.
Yo.
See you guys on the 17th.
I thought we.
How about we got to go back and